Patrick Swayze was never just another Hollywood star chasing applause or headlines. He was a performer whose presence felt personal, someone who moved audiences not through excess, but through sincerity. Whether dancing across a stage or standing still in silence, he carried a rare emotional honesty that made his characters feel lived in and real. Behind his confident smile was a man shaped by discipline, kindness, and resilience, qualities instilled long before fame arrived. Patrick believed deeply in work, in love, and in showing up fully even when life became heavy. He understood that being admired did not make someone invincible. Long before illness entered his story, he had already faced loss, rejection, and physical pain. Yet he never allowed bitterness to define him. To the world, he was charismatic and strong. But at heart, he was thoughtful, humble, and deeply aware that life's most meaningful moments happen far away from any spotlight. When everything changed. Quietly. In early 2008, Patrick Swayze's life shifted in a way no role could have prepared him for. At 55, he was creatively energized, respected across generations, and still deeply connected to his craft. While working on the television series The Beast, he began experiencing persistent discomfort that refused to fade. What initially seemed manageable soon became impossible to ignore. Medical tests followed, and with them came devastating clarity. Doctors diagnosed pancreatic cancer, already advanced, and spoke with careful honesty about the seriousness of the disease. Patrick listened calmly, absorbing information that would have overwhelmed most people. According to his wife, Lisa Nemi, there was no dramatic reaction, no outward panic. Instead, he accepted the reality quietly and immediately began discussing treatment. That moment revealed something essential about him. Patrick did not deny fear, but he refused to let fear control how he lived what time remained. Choosing strength. Over silence news travels fast in Hollywood, and Patrick's diagnosis quickly became public. Headlines speculated, photographs scrutinized, and assumptions made without compassion. Yet Patrick remained composed, choosing truth over secrecy and strength over retreat. He addressed the situation directly, making it clear that he intended to keep living fully. Rather than stepping away from his work, he returned to the Beast, determined to finish what he had started. For Patrick, acting was not about image, it was purpose. Chemotherapy became part of his routine, but so did long days on set. He refused to let illness define his identity or erase his passion. In interviews, he spoke honestly but never dramatically, emphasizing gratitude rather than despair. His message was simple but powerful. Life, even when fragile, was still life, and he intended to honor it through commitment, effort, and dignity. Work as a lifeline. When Patrick returned to filming, those around him were struck by his discipline. Though visibly thinner and clearly enduring physical strain, his focus never wavered. He arrived early, prepared thoroughly, and worked without complaint. Crew members later recalled that if they hadn't known his condition, they might never have guessed. Patrick avoided strong pain medication during work hours, wanting his performances to remain authentic and clear. Acting, he explained, gave him structure and meaning. It reminded him that he was still present, still contributing, still alive. His wife Lisa was always nearby, quietly supporting him behind the scenes, helping manage medications and exhaustion without drawing attention. The set became a place of quiet determination rather than sorrow. Patrick didn't ask for sympathy. He asked only for the chance to keep doing what he loved, on his own terms. Love that never wavered. At the center of Patrick Swayze's life was his marriage to Lisa Nemi, a bond that existed long before fame and remained unshaken by illness. They met when Lisa was a teenager studying dance, and their relationship grew slowly, built on trust, creativity, and mutual respect. Married in 1975, they navigated Hollywood without losing each other, choosing privacy over spectacle. When cancer entered their lives, that partnership deepened into something even stronger. Lisa became caregiver, protector, and emotional anchor, never treating Patrick as fragile, only as human. Their home transformed into a place of quiet routines and shared moments. They read together, listened to music, and found peace in familiar surroundings. Patrick often said that love, not success, was his greatest achievement. In his most difficult days, that belief sustained him. Facing decline with grace. As months passed, treatment became harder, and Patrick's strength gradually diminished. By 2009, doctors acknowledged that medical options were limited. Patrick accepted the truth without surrendering his spirit. He chose to remain at home, surrounded by calm rather than hospitals, comfort rather than noise. Friends who visited described an atmosphere of peace, not despair. Patrick spent time reflecting, listening to music, and sitting quietly near windows overlooking nature. Lisa carefully documented each day, finding purpose in attentiveness. Though pain was present, Patrick rarely complained. Instead, he focused on easing Lisa's worry, offering reassurance even when he was the one suffering. Illness may have weakened his body, but it never touched his character. His calm acceptance wasn't resignation. It was the quiet confidence of someone who had lived honestly and loved deeply. Holding on without fear. There were moments when Patrick's condition worsened suddenly, testing everyone's resolve. A hospitalization early in 2009 frightened loved ones, yet even then, he recovered enough to return home. He wasn't ready to let go, not because he feared death, but because he valued life. As physical independence faded, emotional connection remained strong. Lisa stayed by his side constantly, sleeping nearby, speaking softly, ensuring he never felt alone. Their conversations became simpler but more meaningful. Sometimes silence replaced words, and sometimes a glance said everything. Patrick's strength lay not in resistance, but in presence. Even as speech became difficult, his expressions remained gentle and affectionate. He had no need for grand statements. He had already said what mattered most through years of consistency, love, and loyalty. The quietest goodbye. On the September 14, 2009, Patrick Swayze spent his final hours at home, surrounded by stillness and familiarity. Sunlight filtered softly into the room, and the world outside seemed to slow. His breathing was shallow, his strength nearly gone, but his expression was peaceful. Lisa sat beside him, holding his hand as she had countless times before. When she whispered that she loved him, Patrick gathered what little strength he had left and softly answered the same words. It was a simple exchange, but it carried the weight of a lifetime. There was no audience, no performance, only truth. Moments later, he passed away quietly at age 57. Lisa remained with him, speaking gently even after he was gone, unwilling to let silence replace connection too quickly. A legacy that refuses to fade. Patrick Swayze's passing resonated deeply around the world, not because he was famous, but because he was genuine. Fans mourned the loss of someone who had inspired joy, romance, and courage through his work. Films like Dirty Dancing, Ghost, and Point Break continued to reach new generations, each performance carrying emotional sincerity that never aged. Lisa later shared their journey in her memoir, not to dwell on loss, but to honor resilience and love. Memorials appeared in meaningful places, turning memory into shared experience. Patrick's music, his films, and his words lived on. But so did his example. He showed that strength doesn't require denial, that dignity can exist alongside vulnerability, and that love remains powerful even in farewell. What Patrick left behind. Patrick Swayze's story is not defined by illness or ending, but by how he lived. He faced fear without bitterness, pain without cruelty, and loss without resentment. His final words reflected the values that guided him long before fame ever arrived. Love mattered more than applause. Presence mattered more than perfection. Even in his last moments, he reminded the world that life's meaning is found not in how loudly we are remembered, but in how deeply we are loved. Patrick did not seek to teach lessons, yet he left many behind. He showed that courage can be gentle, that strength can be quiet, and that even when the body fails, the heart can remain whole. His legacy endures because it was never about image. It was about truth,